The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the sprawling fields as I pulled into the long, familiar driveway of my family's farm. It had been years since I last visited, a cherished sanctuary away from the chaotic rhythms of city life. Yet, as I stepped out of my car and inhaled the crisp country air, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The lush green fields stretched out before me, but the vibrant beauty felt overshadowed by an unsettling tension that clung to the atmosphere like an unwelcome fog. Even from a distance, I could see the old farmhouse, its white paint slightly peeling, a testament to the passage of time. It was a sight that had always filled me with warmth, a symbol of family and fond memories. However, today, it looked different, somehow more imposing, the shadows longer and more pronounced. I took a moment to steady myself, reminding myself that I was here to reconnect with family, to unwind and escape the frantic pace of urban living. As I walked toward the house, I caught sight of my nephew standing on the porch, his back turned to me as he gazed out over the fields. He had grown into a tall, athletic young man, the playful child I once knew replaced by someone who seemed almost foreign to me. A knot of unease twisted in my stomach as I recalled the countless summers we had spent together, chasing fireflies in the twilight, building makeshift forts, and sharing secrets that felt sacred. Yet now, I felt a strange dissonance, as if a chasm had formed between our shared past and the present moment. "Hey," he called out, turning to greet me with a broad smile that momentarily melted away my apprehension. His eyes, however, held a depth I hadn't seen before, a maturity that felt disconcerting. As he stepped forward to embrace me, I noticed the way he held me just a beat longer than necessary, the warmth of his body sending an unexpected shiver down my spine. "It's so good to see you." "It's great to see you too," I replied, forcing a smile while trying to ignore the flutter of anxiety in my chest. We exchanged small talk about the farm, about life, but the easy banter felt strained. Each time our eyes met, I could sense an undercurrent that hinted at something more, something unspoken. The first night, I settled into my old room, surrounded by memories that whispered of happier times. The walls were adorned with photographs of family gatherings, birthdays, and laughter, but even those images felt heavy with an impending weight. As I lay in bed, staring up at the ceiling, I tried to dismiss the gnawing feeling in my gut. Surely, I was just overthinking things. Family bonds were strong, they could withstand any awkwardness. Yet, deep down, I sensed that the dynamics between my nephew and me had shifted, the foundation of our relationship beginning to tremble beneath us. The next morning, I awoke to the sound of roosters crowing and the gentle rustle of leaves outside my window. The sun poured in, bathing the room in a soft light that should have been comforting. Instead, it felt like a spotlight on my growing unease. After a quick breakfast, I joined my nephew outside. He was busy tending to the vegetable garden, his hands working the soil with a grace that spoke of years spent nurturing the land. I watched him for a moment, feeling a mix of admiration and confusion. This was the same boy I had watched grow up, yet now he was a man, and the familiarity felt like a double-edged sword. "Do you want to help?" he asked, glancing up with a grin that was both inviting and unsettling. I nodded, trying to push aside my internal turmoil. As we worked side by side, I noticed how his gaze lingered on me, a flicker of something I couldn't quite place. "You've changed a lot since the last time I saw you," he remarked casually, but his tone suggested a deeper meaning behind the words. "Yeah, I guess so," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "City life does that to you." I laughed lightly, but my heart raced. His attention felt too intense, too scrutinizing, and I was unsure how to navigate the shifting landscape of our relationship. Days passed in a blur of activities, planting seeds, harvesting vegetables, and reminiscing about our childhood adventures. Each shared moment felt both precious and precarious, like walking on a tightrope. We spent hours wandering the fields, laughing and joking, but with each exchange, the tension between us escalated. I felt an undeniable pull, an attraction that began to claw at the edges of my conscience, forcing me to confront emotions I had never anticipated. One evening, we gathered around the fire pit, the warmth of the flames contrasting with the chill in the air. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across the landscape. I watched as he tossed another log onto the fire, the sparks flying up into the night sky like tiny fireflies. "You know," he began, his voice thoughtful, "we've always had a special connection. It's rare for families to be this close." I nodded, unsure of where this conversation was heading. "Yeah, we've always looked out for each other." My heart raced as I sensed an unspoken weight behind his words. He leaned closer, the distance between us shrinking, and I felt the heat radiating from him, wrapping around me like a blanket. "But what if it's more than that?" His question caught me off guard. The playful banter had shifted into uncharted territory, and I felt the ground beneath me shifting. What if there's something more between us that we've just ignored? I forced a laugh, attempting to deflect the gravity of his words. "Come on, you're being ridiculous. We're family." But the more I protested, the more I could see the flicker of hurt in his eyes, a challenge sparking in his gaze. He wasn't backing down, and that frightened me. Is it really so wrong to feel something deeper? We've always been connected, haven't we? His tone was earnest, searching, and I could feel my resolve beginning to waver. The truth of his words struck a chord deep within me, resonating with the growing tension that had become impossible to ignore. The evening air grew heavier with unspoken words, and I felt my heart pound in my chest. I wanted to deny it, to push back against the tide of confusion threatening to drown me, but there was something magnetic about the way he looked at me, something that made me question everything I thought I knew about love, attraction, and the boundaries of family. As I lay in bed that night, tossing and turning, I realized that the farm, once a refuge, had become a battleground for my emotions. The laughter of our childhood echoed in my mind, but the innocence of those memories felt tainted by the storm brewing beneath the surface. I couldn't help but wonder if the unspoken connection I shared with my nephew would unravel everything I had ever known about family, loyalty, and love. The thought terrified me, yet the pull was undeniable, a force drawing me ever closer to a precipice I wasn't sure I was ready to face. The sun rose the next morning, casting a soft light that filtered through the curtains of my old room. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, grappling with the emotions that swirled within me like a turbulent storm. The laughter from the previous night echoed in my mind, a stark contrast to the weight pressing down on my chest. I had come to the farm seeking solace, yet here I was, trapped in a web of confusion and unease. After a quick breakfast, I found my nephew outside, already tending to the garden. His back was turned to me as he worked, and I took a moment to observe him. The way he moved with confidence, the determination etched on his face, it was a sight that filled me with admiration, yet it also stirred an uncomfortable feeling deep inside. I forced myself to approach him, trying to shake off the thoughts that lingered like shadows. "Good morning," I called out, attempting to inject some cheerfulness into my voice. He turned, his smile lighting up his face, and for a brief moment, I felt the familiar bond we had always shared. But as he walked toward me, that bond felt strained, as if we were both aware of the invisible barrier that had been erected between us. "Ready to help me with the tomatoes?" he asked, the excitement in his voice pulling me out of my spiraling thoughts. I nodded, trying to focus on the task at hand rather than the tumultuous emotions bubbling beneath the surface. As we worked side by side, I noticed how he would occasionally glance at me, his expression thoughtful, as if he was trying to decipher something hidden beneath my calm facade. "Have you been thinking more about what we talked about last night?" he asked, his voice casual yet laced with an underlying intensity. I hesitated, my heart racing at the directness of his question. "I mean, it's okay if you don't want to talk about it," he continued, his tone shifting to one of concern. "But it's important to me." I took a deep breath, my mind racing. "It's complicated," I finally admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I've never thought of you in that way before." The honesty of my words hung in the air, and I watched as his expression shifted from curiosity to a mixture of relief and disappointment. "I get it," he replied softly. "But don't you think it's worth exploring? We've always been close, and I feel like there's something more between us that's just waiting to be acknowledged." His eyes locked onto mine, and I felt the weight of his gaze, a mixture of longing and uncertainty. "Exploring what?" I asked, my heart pounding. The very idea of crossing that line filled me with both fear and excitement. We can't just change everything because of some feelings. But even as I said the words, I felt the truth of my own attraction stir beneath the surface, challenging the logic I desperately clung to. "Why not?" he pressed, his voice firm yet gentle. "Feelings are real, and they don't just disappear because we want them to. I've felt this way for a while now, and I thought maybe you did too." The vulnerability in his eyes pierced through my defenses, and I felt my resolve begin to waver. "I just don't want to ruin what we have," I confessed, my voice trembling. The thought of jeopardizing our family bond, of shattering the innocence of our shared past, sent a wave of panic coursing through me. What if it goes wrong? What if we lose each other? He stepped closer, his expression earnest. "I don't want to lose you either, but denying this connection feels even worse. Can't we at least acknowledge it? See where it leads?" His words wrapped around me like a warm embrace, yet the fear of the unknown made me want to retreat. The day continued with an undercurrent of tension that made every shared glance feel charged, every casual touch heavy with meaning. As we finished our work in the garden, I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks every time our hands brushed against each other. It was an innocent act, but it ignited a fire within me that was hard to ignore. In the evening, as we prepared dinner together, I tried to keep the conversation light, focusing on the tasks at hand to distract myself from the tumultuous thoughts racing through my mind. We laughed as we chopped vegetables, and for a moment, it felt like old times. Yet, each time he caught my eye, I felt the tension between us grow more palpable. After dinner, we found ourselves sitting on the porch, the stars twinkling brightly overhead. The cool breeze carried the sweet scent of blooming flowers, but the air was thick with unspoken words. I could sense that he was grappling with the same confusion that enveloped me, a silent acknowledgement of the gravity of our situation. "Do you ever wonder what it would be like if we just let go?" he asked, breaking the silence that had settled between us. The question hung in the air, and I felt my heart race as I considered the implications. Letting go meant crossing a line that had always been sacred, but the idea of it also felt intoxicating. Letting go of what? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. Of our family ties? Of everything we've known? I looked at him, searching his face for answers, but all I found was an intensity that both thrilled and terrified me. "Of the fear," he replied, his voice low and sincere. "What if we allowed ourselves to explore this? What if we didn't let the boundaries of family dictate what we feel?" His words sent a shiver down my spine, and I felt my breath hitch as I considered the possibilities. "But what if it goes wrong?" I countered, my voice barely above a whisper. "What if we ruin everything?" The thought of jeopardizing the bond we shared, of shattering the foundation of our family, felt unbearable. "I don't think it has to be that way," he said, his eyes never leaving mine. "We can take it slow. Just see what happens. We owe it to ourselves to at least explore this connection, don't you think?" The earnestness in his gaze sent my heart racing, and I could feel the walls I had built around myself beginning to crack. The night deepened, and the stars twinkled brightly overhead, a stark contrast to the dark thoughts swirling in my mind. I felt a pull toward him, a desire to explore the feelings that had been festering beneath the surface for so long. Yet, the fear of crossing that line loomed large, casting a shadow over my thoughts. As the evening wore on, I found myself torn between the magnetic pull of my feelings and the instinct to protect the familial bond we had built over the years. Each moment we shared felt charged with potential, and I knew that a decision loomed on the horizon, one that could change everything. That night, as I lay in bed, I wrestled with my thoughts, my heart racing with uncertainty. The farm, once a sanctuary of childhood memories, had transformed into a landscape of desire and conflict. I closed my eyes, attempting to quiet the storm within, but the weight of my emotions pressed down on me like a physical force, a reminder that I stood at the precipice of something profound and irrevocable. The following day dawned, bright and clear, yet the air felt thick with anticipation. I could feel the tension brewing between us, an unspoken agreement that we were on the cusp of a change. I ventured outside, seeking the solace of nature, hoping to clear my mind and find some semblance of peace. But as I walked through the fields, the beauty of the surroundings faded into the background. My thoughts were consumed by the idea of exploring this newfound connection, a desire that threatened to engulf me. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions, but each moment spent alone only intensified my longing. I returned to the house, determined to confront the tension that had been building between us. As I approached the porch, my nephew looked up, a knowing smile on his face that sent my heart racing. "There you are," he said, his voice light, but I could see the anticipation in his eyes. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice steady despite the anxiety swirling within me. He nodded, the smile fading slightly as he sensed the seriousness of my tone. We stepped inside, the familiar walls suddenly feeling like a confining space filled with unspoken possibilities. "About what happened last night," I started, but the words caught in my throat. I could feel the weight of the moment bearing down on us, the air thick with unspoken desire and fear. My heart raced as I realized that whatever happened next would change everything. As we stood in the kitchen, the warm light from the overhead lamp cast a cozy glow around us, but the atmosphere felt anything but comfortable. My heart raced as I searched for the right words, grappling with the tension that hung between us like a fragile thread ready to snap. I could see the anticipation in my nephew's eyes, a mix of hope and uncertainty that made me acutely aware of the weight of the moment. "About what happened last night," I finally managed to say, my voice trembling slightly. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation that could change everything. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said." His expression shifted from anxious curiosity to a focused intensity, his gaze locked onto mine. "And what have you decided?" he asked, his voice steady yet laced with anticipation. The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. I felt the urge to flee, to retreat back into the safety of denial, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. We were already standing at the edge, and there was no going back. "I don't know," I confessed, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "Part of me wants to explore what we have, to see where this connection could lead, but the other part of me is terrified." I looked away, ashamed of the vulnerability I was exposing. The fear of crossing a line that had always seemed clear was paralyzing. "Terrified of what?" he pressed gently, stepping closer, the space between us narrowing. "Of ruining our family? Of losing me? Or is it something deeper? Something more personal?" His voice was soft but insistent, and I felt the heat rising in my cheeks as I struggled to articulate the confusion that churned inside me. "Maybe all of that," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I care about you so much, and the thought of complicating our relationship scares me. I don't want to hurt you or lose what we already have. My heart ached with the weight of my emotions, and I could see the conflict mirrored in his eyes. He reached out, gently placing a hand on my shoulder, and the contact sent a jolt through me. I don't want to lose you either, he said, his voice low and earnest. But isn't it worth considering what we could have? I feel something real between us, something that goes beyond family. We can navigate this together. The sincerity in his gaze made my heart race, and I felt my resolve begin to crumble under the weight of his words. I've never thought of you in that way before, I admitted, my voice trembling. It feels wrong to even entertain the idea. The very thought of crossing that boundary, of turning familial affection into something more intimate, felt like a betrayal of everything we had shared. But why does it have to be wrong? He asked, his tone pleading. People fall in love in all sorts of ways. Just because we're family doesn't mean we can't have feelings for each other. It's not like we're siblings. There's a difference. His logic was compelling, yet the fear of societal judgment loomed large in my mind, threatening to drown out my growing desire. I just don't want to hurt anyone, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. What would our family think? What if they found out? I couldn't bear the thought of causing a rift. The weight of responsibility felt heavy on my shoulders, and I worried about the implications of my actions. We wouldn't have to tell anyone right away, he suggested, his eyes gleaming with determination. We could take it slow, see how we feel. It doesn't have to change everything overnight. He stepped closer, his presence both comforting and exhilarating, and I could feel the tension between us crackling like static electricity. Taking it slow sounds nice in theory, I said, my voice trembling as I struggled to reconcile my emotions. But I'm afraid of where that might lead us. What if we lose control? The words escaped my lips, filled with the weight of my fears and uncertainties. I felt my heart pounding in my chest, the thrill of his proximity igniting a flame within me. His gaze softened, and I could see the understanding in his eyes. We can set boundaries, he replied, his voice calm and steady. We can navigate this together, one step at a time. If it feels wrong at any point, we can stop. The reassurance in his words offered a glimmer of hope, yet the fear of what lay ahead continued to grip me. I want to explore this, I confessed, the truth slipping from my lips before I could hold it back. But I don't want to hurt you, and I don't want to ruin our relationship. The vulnerability of admitting my feelings laid bare a part of me I had kept hidden for so long. He took a step closer, the distance between us nearly non-existent now. You won't hurt me, he said softly, his breath warm against my skin. This connection is real, and I believe it's worth exploring. We can be cautious. We can take our time. His voice was low and soothing, wrapping around me like a warm embrace. As his words sank in, I felt the weight of my fears begin to lift, replaced by a flicker of excitement. Perhaps he was right, perhaps this connection was worth exploring. My heart raced at the thought of finally acknowledging the feelings that had been simmering beneath the surface for so long. Okay, I said, the word barely a whisper. Let's explore this. But we have to be careful. My heart pounded in my chest as I spoke, the realization that I was crossing a threshold, stepping into unknown territory, sent a thrill of exhilaration coursing through me. His face broke into a smile, a mixture of relief and excitement lighting up his features. Thank you for being open to this, he said, his voice filled with warmth. I promise I won't push you into anything you're not comfortable with. The sincerity in his gaze made my heart swell, and I felt a rush of emotions flood through me. As we stood in the kitchen, the weight of unspoken possibilities hung in the air, electrifying the space between us. It felt like we were teetering on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown together. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything. Over the next few days, we navigated the delicate balance between familial affection and burgeoning attraction. The tension that had once felt suffocating transformed into an exhilarating dance of emotions. We shared stolen glances, lingering touches, and whispered secrets, the intimacy between us growing with each passing moment. Our mornings were filled with laughter and light-hearted conversations, while the evenings turned into a whirlwind of charged interactions. I could feel the chemistry crackling in the air, an undeniable pull that drew us closer together. Each moment felt like a carefully choreographed dance, filled with anticipation and uncertainty. We ventured into the woods, exploring the trails we had once traversed as children, and as we walked side by side, the unspoken connection between us deepened. I found myself stealing glances at him, marveling at the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves, illuminating his features and casting shadows across his face. "Do you remember the time we built that fort?" he asked one afternoon as we settled down on a fallen log, the memories flooding back in a rush. We thought it was indestructible until the storm came and knocked it down. His laughter was infectious, and I couldn't help but smile at the recollection of our childhood antics. "Yeah, and we ended up soaked and muddy," I replied, chuckling at the memory. "But we had so much fun." The warmth of nostalgia washed over me, but as I looked into his eyes, I felt the weight of the present pressing down, reminding me that things were different now. "Life is a lot like that," he mused, his gaze thoughtful. "We build our fortresses, thinking they're invincible, only to realize that sometimes they can crumble." The words hung in the air, resonating with the precariousness of our own situation. I felt a rush of emotion as I considered the fragility of our connection, the risk we were taking. "Yeah," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "But sometimes, it's worth rebuilding." The realization dawned on me that perhaps what we were creating, this new connection, was worth the risk of potential heartbreak. My heart raced at the thought of stepping into this new territory together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the days turned into weeks, we continued to explore our relationship, each interaction filled with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. The boundaries we had once held so dear began to blur, and the connection between us deepened in ways I had never imagined. With every shared secret and stolen kiss, I felt the walls I had built around my heart begin to crumble, exposing the raw vulnerability I had long kept hidden. Yet, in the quiet moments, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling of guilt. We were treading on delicate ground, navigating a path that could potentially lead to heartache and confusion. The fear of judgment loomed large, and I often found myself wondering what our family would think if they knew. The thought of their reactions sent shivers down my spine, reminding me of the stakes involved. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sun set, I turned to him, my heart heavy with the weight of unspoken worries. "What if this doesn't work out?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What if we end up hurting each other?" The fear was palpable, and I could see the concern reflected in his eyes. "Then we'll deal with it together," he said firmly, taking my hand in his. The warmth of his touch sent a rush of comfort through me, and I felt the tension begin to ease. "I'm not afraid of what could happen. I believe in us, in this connection. We'll figure it out, no matter what." His conviction ignited a spark of hope within me, and I found myself wanting to believe him. "Okay," I replied, my heart swelling with determination. "Let's see where this takes us." The decision felt like a leap of faith, a commitment to explore the uncharted waters of our relationship. I knew that whatever lay ahead would be filled with challenges, but the thought of doing it together filled me with a sense of purpose. As the stars twinkled above us, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Perhaps this connection was worth the risk, worth the vulnerability it demanded. Together, we would navigate the complexities of our relationship, forging a path that was uniquely our own. I took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that we were embarking on a journey that would forever change the course of our lives. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions as we navigated the new dynamics of our relationship. Each moment spent together felt charged with a blend of excitement and trepidation, as we tiptoed along the edges of a territory that was both thrilling and fraught with peril. The connection we shared deepened in ways I never anticipated, but beneath the surface, I could feel the weight of the world pressing down on us, reminding me of the fragile nature of what we were building. We spent countless afternoons wandering through the fields, our hands brushing against each other in subtle, accidental ways that sent shivers down my spine. Each glance exchanged felt electric, an unspoken promise lingering in the air between us. The thrill of our stolen kisses and whispered confessions became intoxicating, but with each passing day, I felt the tension mount. We were walking a tightrope, balancing between the joy of discovery and the fear of what lay ahead. One warm evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the landscape, we found ourselves sitting on the porch, the world around us bathed in twilight. I could feel the pulse of anticipation in the air, a silent acknowledgement of the bond we had forged. My heart raced as I turned to him, the weight of my thoughts pressing heavily on my mind. "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The question had been gnawing at me, a specter lurking in the shadows of my mind. What if we're crossing a line that we can't come back from? I looked into his eyes, searching for reassurance but also fearing the truth of his answer. He turned to me, his expression serious but compassionate. "I don't know," he admitted, his honesty resonating within me. "But I do know that what we have feels real, and I don't want to ignore it just because it's complicated. Sometimes the best things in life come with risks." His words stirred something deep within me, a mixture of fear and excitement that danced on the edges of my consciousness. "I want to believe that," I replied, my heart pounding. "But it scares me to think about how this could affect our family." The thought of our parents discovering the truth sent a wave of anxiety coursing through me, and I felt a lump forming in my throat. What if they don't understand? What if they think we've done something wrong? He reached out, taking my hand in his, grounding me with his touch. "We can keep it between us for now," he suggested gently. "If it's meant to be, we'll figure it out as we go. We can take our time." The warmth of his hand sent a jolt of comfort through me, and I felt the tension ease, if only slightly. Perhaps he was right, maybe we could navigate this together, one step at a time. That night, as I lay in bed, my mind was a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. The thrill of our connection mingled with the fear of potential repercussions. I closed my eyes, trying to quiet the chaos within, but the anticipation of what tomorrow might bring kept me awake, restless in the dark. The next day dawned clear and bright, yet a sense of unease lingered in the air. We spent the morning working side by side, our laughter echoing through the fields, but I could feel the tension lurking beneath the surface. Every time our hands brushed against each other, I felt a surge of electricity, but with it came the weight of the reality we were ignoring. As the days turned into weeks, the intimacy between us deepened, and I found myself grappling with the reality of our situation. We shared quiet moments in the barn, laughter echoing off the walls, but the joy was often accompanied by the gnawing anxiety of what lay ahead. The unspoken questions loomed large, overshadowing our shared experiences. One afternoon, while we were picking berries in the orchard, I caught sight of my nephew stealing glances at me, his expression a mixture of longing and uncertainty. "You okay?" I asked, my voice laced with concern. I could see the conflict brewing behind his eyes, and it made my heart ache. "I'm just thinking," he replied, his tone contemplative. "About us and what this means. I don't want to ruin anything, but it feels like we're dancing around something that's becoming harder to ignore." He looked away, and I felt a pang of empathy wash over me. The fear and confusion mirrored my own. "I feel it too," I confessed, my voice trembling. "It's like we're walking a tightrope, and one wrong move could send us tumbling." The vulnerability of admitting my fears left me exposed, yet there was also a sense of relief in acknowledging the truth we had been dancing around. "Maybe we need to talk to someone," he suggested, his eyes searching mine. "Someone who can help us understand this better." The idea sent a shiver down my spine, and I felt the instinct to recoil from the suggestion. I wasn't ready to involve anyone else, especially not family. "I don't know if that's a good idea," I replied, my voice hesitant. "What if they don't understand? What if they judge us?" The fear of being exposed, of having our secret laid bare, gripped me tightly. "Or what if they help us navigate this?" he countered, his gaze unwavering. "We can't keep living in fear. We need to find a way to make sense of what we're feeling." I could see the determination in his eyes, and it stirred a conflict within me. He was right, we couldn't continue dancing around the issue, but the thought of confronting it head-on felt terrifying. After a long pause, I finally relented. "Okay, maybe we can talk to someone. But who?" The weight of the decision felt heavy, but I knew it was time to seek guidance. We needed clarity, a way to understand the complexities of our feelings without losing what we had. Over the next few days, we discussed our options, weighing the pros and cons of reaching out to someone. We settled on a family therapist who had experience with complex familial dynamics. The thought of sharing our feelings made my stomach churn, but I also felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps having an unbiased perspective could help us navigate this maze of emotions. When the day of our appointment arrived, I felt a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. We sat together in the waiting room, hands clasped tightly, and I could feel the tension building between us. "Are you ready?" he asked, his voice low, and I nodded, although doubt lingered in the back of my mind. As we entered the therapist's office, I felt a rush of nerves. The room was warm and inviting, filled with soft colors and comfortable furniture, yet it felt like a weighty space filled with unspoken truths. The therapist, a kind-looking woman with a warm smile, welcomed us and gestured for us to take a seat. "Thank you for coming in today," she said, her voice soothing. "I understand you have some complex feelings you'd like to discuss." Her words opened the floodgates of my anxiety, and I could feel the weight of our secret pressing down on me. We're trying to figure out our feelings for each other," I began, my voice trembling as I spoke. "It's complicated because we're family." The confession felt like a cathartic release, yet the vulnerability of exposing our secret left me feeling exposed. The therapist listened attentively, her expression compassionate and understanding. "It's completely normal to have complex feelings within families, especially as relationships evolve over time," she said gently. "What's important is that you're both here, willing to explore those feelings in a safe space." As the session progressed, we delved into the intricacies of our relationship, discussing the emotions we had been grappling with and the fears that had held us back. The therapist guided us through our thoughts, helping us to untangle the confusion and find clarity in our feelings. By the end of the session, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. We had taken a brave step toward understanding ourselves, and the weight of secrecy felt lighter. The conversation had opened doors to deeper understanding, and while the journey ahead still felt uncertain, I was grateful for the opportunity to explore it together. In the days that followed, we continued to attend sessions, each one offering new insights and perspectives. The therapist encouraged us to communicate openly and honestly, helping us to navigate the complexities of our feelings while emphasizing the importance of setting boundaries. As we worked through our emotions, I felt a newfound sense of empowerment. I was no longer just a passive participant in this journey, I was actively choosing to explore what our connection could become. With each passing day, the love and understanding between us deepened, and I found myself more willing to embrace the feelings that had once terrified me. Yet, amidst the growth and discovery, I couldn't shake the lingering fear of the outside world. What would our family think? What if they found out about our relationship? The weight of those concerns hung over us, casting a shadow on our progress. We continued to build our connection, reveling in the joy of discovery, but I couldn't ignore the reality of our situation. The love we shared felt genuine, but it was also laced with complexities that made me question everything. I knew we had to find a way to balance our desire for one another with the potential fallout of our actions. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, I turned to him, my heart heavy with uncertainty. "I love what we have, but I'm scared of the consequences," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want to hurt anyone, and I don't want to lose you." The vulnerability of my admission left me feeling exposed, but I needed him to understand the depth of my fear. He took my hand, squeezing it gently. "I feel the same way," he confessed, his voice steady. "But we can't let fear dictate our choices. We have to be honest with ourselves and with our family eventually." His words resonated within me, igniting a spark of determination. Perhaps it was time to confront the reality of our relationship, to face the consequences head-on. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. The journey we had embarked on was filled with challenges, but it was also rich with the potential for love and connection. I knew that whatever lay ahead, we would face it together, ready to navigate the complexities of our feelings and the world around us. With a newfound resolve, I leaned into him, allowing the warmth of our connection to envelop me. We had crossed a threshold, and while the path ahead was uncertain, I felt ready to embrace whatever came next. Together, we would carve out our own space in the world, finding a way to honor our love while navigating the complexities of family, loyalty, and desire. The journey was just beginning, and I felt a sense of hope blossoming within me, ready to face the future side by side.